Good evening and welcome to the channel. Fortunately, no champagne today. I'm heading back to work, so rejoining everyone else. But just a quick video for some Australian context on Nvidia and some speculation on AMD, of course, for Australians. So this is specifically targeting AUD prices, so Australian dollar prices. And as the IT hardware self-designated representative in my social group, I've taken it upon myself to try and pull some data together and just cut through a lot of marketing garbage out there. So, Nvidia 5000. Let's not stuff around and get straight into some stats. So, brightness warning if you're watching late at night. Josh, I know you are. Here we are. So, stats. I've hidden a lot of tracks here because I really want to be just focusing on the 5000 series here. So, 5080, 5090. Wow, what an absolute car crash in Australian pricing. I mean, everywhere, I think, but particularly absolute car crash. The key with, I think, each generation is what is the dollars to performance. That should always be better. If it's not better, well, you could have just got worse dollar to performance, but more performance overall, just going up a card in the current generation. For example, if you're not happy with a 4070 performance and you wanted more performance and worse dollars to performance overall, then you go up higher because they get worse as they go up the stack generally. So you just go and you'd buy yourself a 4070 Ti Super, you buy a 4080 Super or a 4090 Super. Nice and easy. You get worse dollars to performance a dollar as you go up. Now I've just used a very, very simple pulled up Tech Power Up's percentages of their performance lined up against the GeForce 210. Absolute beast of a card, but it gives us a nice lineage here and a base point to be for all the other cards to be relative. Then I've got a couple of key cards that I'm interested in performance-wise, so I know how it relates to me in here, and some of my social group here. Now, I've been tracking pricing for about 6 months here. I know, just wild. I'm married, thank you, but I'm sorry. I'm not available. So, 5080. So launch price 2019. Worse dollar to performance than even the 4080 Super at the price that it's gone up about $200 in the last week or so. So lower is better on these figures. $6.71 and the 50 for the 4080 Super, and the 5080 $6.94. Terrible, absolutely garbage pricing there. 5090 versus 4090. As you can see, yep, excellent right now. So you are actually getting a pretty decent little boost there versus current pricing of what the 4090 is. However, if we went back to when prior to Nvidia stopping manufacturing in September, October, to really let those dry up and probably the price boost up a bit, and we go all the way back to end of October. So you're looking at or start of October here, $9.19, which is awfully close. But then as soon as you dropped it down to 2,900, well, you're looking at under $9, which just means that you're looking at a very disappointing 5090. The only benefit there is that you're getting more VRAM for the dollar. So if you're doing some machine learning or whatever in there, then away you go. But for gaming wise, forget about it. So that is just $4,000. Youch. So this is where we start to go into speculating, because obviously those cards are out, performance is there. So speculating on the 5070 Ti. Now we know that the pricing is going to be at least $1,500, given the pricing of $749 US, and that translates to basically double, because 5080 was $1,000 US, double, $2,000 Australian. 5090, $2,000 US, $4,000 Australian. So pretty easy that we're going to get $1,500 there. That does make it only majorly disappointing here. The putting it with it slightly, well, slightly worse, slightly better performance per dollar than the 4080 Super at its boosted price, and which is good. That is good, but the 5070 Ti is supposed to be replacing in the 4070 series, which have always better dollar value there, the performance. So you're looking at the 4070 Super, which is $4.72, and the 4070 Ti Super with $5.82. So really you're just again going, well, you're going to get most likely pretty close performance to the 4080 Super. I don't think we're going to see it improving past that. I think that is just based off the specs. Done a bit of analysis on there. It was about 5% off, I think, for the 5090 and 5080 estimates. So, reasonable. And I just don't think we're going to get 4080 Super performance. We're going to get a shade under it, which is going to mean that, well, you get a bit of a discount on the current 4080 Super, but you're getting a bit of shaving off for the performance. So again, you're just not getting. It's not easy. Not easy. It should be an obvious new generation, great, increase the value statement there, and where we go, no, unfortunately not. And then Nvidia really saving the best to last with the 5070, and of course by saving the best I mean the absolute best of the worst. Terrible, absolutely terrible. The best at being the worst. This is just, we're not going to see much change from $1,100 there, and the performance estimates on that are, it is so heavily cut down from the 4070 Super. We're just not going to see it getting close, which is really absolutely putting it in this spot of really round of applause, and you've earned the worst value statement right up until the very top end cards. Like, you really nailed it. This is where the mid-range should have substantially better value statements. You just look at this. This is clearly, excluding this one, clearly better than here. Ignoring the 3090 I've got in there just for reference. So, and here's a good point. So 3090, 2 gens ago, at $2,900, which was actual, buying pricing you could do, $14.54. So you have got improvements from there. Even the 4090 itself had an improvement, but this gen we are just not getting it over last gen. It is, I think they've taken lessons from the 4080 12 gig, and instead of going, oh, we're not going to do that again so we don't have to cancel a card, we're just going to not give you another option there. We're just going to put it in there as the 5080 instead of 5070 Ti at best, and really have just torn that out. Now, AMD, well, is also going to blow. Really sorry to say this, but current estimates, you're not going to look any better than 7900 XT. Pricing rumors, well, we know these cards are sitting in retailers and have in some cases since December, but they're not going to launch them until March. What's going on? Well, it's probably pricing. I think. And if it's true that they were surprised by Nvidia's prices being low, well, we've just gone through how terrible they are for price to performance. So AMD expecting to launch the same, are they? Well, I would expect that the 9070 XT is, best case, I think. Just judging by AMD making classic blunders on their launch pricing, it's probably going to be around 500 US. I think that's probably the best we're going to see out of that, which is going to mean that you basically are getting maybe $100 discount on a 7900 XT. And I suspect it's going to be worse performance, same or worse pricing. There seems to be a between these two, let's just effectively unspoken collusion and not drop the prices, because what's the alternative? Because there isn't one. I'm afraid Intel's B580 looks really strong there at launch. Obviously not in the same class as these performance cards, but with that, you really need a very strong CPU there, otherwise it just tanks. Well, it's a budget card. You're not going to be running a 9800X3D on that, for most cases. So I suspect we're just going to see this stay up. I think there's a lot of both Nvidia and AMD drinking their own Kool-Aid and just getting a real groupthink going on here and patting each other on the back. Oh, yeah, no, that's definitely worth the price. That's definitely worth $4,000. We've got multi-frame generation now. And going, no, it's not about the hardware performance, it's about the software. And look, I can understand that, but particularly in AMD's case, you don't have it. You just don't have it. So you've got to compete really on having a much better value option than Nvidia, while you really work your behinds off to get the software features up there. And I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do the classic, shave a little bit off Nvidia's whatever class card they think that they're targeting. It's not going to be a 5070 Ti. I think it's just judging by the specs of it, it's going to be too high performance wise. And they're just going to shave off a bit off, say, the 5070 pricing, which is just going to be terrible for consumers. So with that real upbeat conversation there, what's advice? Well, good question. Firstly, no judgment. You do you. I've bought plenty of dumb things, particularly, prior to having kids and having a lot of disposable income, whereas now I have to be a little bit more careful on things. But you go ahead, you do you. But generally, there's no good choices at the moment this generation, and it does not, unless there's substantial price drops or AMD just actually come out and surprise everyone with, I don't know, a $400 US card there, better even. There's no good options here. Yes, if you've held out for ages and you're looking to upgrade, of course these ones are going to be massive. They're going to be big step ups from the equivalent card in a 20 series, for example. But they're not as good as what typically they should have been. I think the 5000 series is the worst series of cards in a generation I've ever seen. And I've been paying pretty close attention since the 900s. So absolute shocking launch. I mean, maybe this is Fermi again. Anyway, if you can hold off. There generally hasn't been 2 generations in a row that are this sort of thing has turned up. So likely we'll see an improvement in next generation if that follows along. Otherwise, buy the minimum that you need to get the performance you're after. Okay, future-proofing's garbage. Just get the minimum you need and save that extra money that you might have gone up to, and just put it aside, buy some shares or something, or just put it in an interest rate and just hold off until actually a decent value statement comes around, and then spend, because that's the only way these companies sort of come around. And yes, Nvidia with their data center, of course, is huge. They can't just completely ignore gaming. They're not maximizing their profits, which is a whole thing, and you can get class action lawsuits for it. Not a lawyer, but they will always be trying to extract maximum value from a market, and if that means that we're just going to pay dumb money all the time, then they'll keep doing it. But if you change it so that you reward them more when they provide good value, and you do less when they don't, then they will. That's the only market forces that matter for them. Also, AMD's 9070 XT. It's 16 gigs of VRAM. 7900 XT, 20 gigs of VRAM. So, you're even getting less on that front. Anyway, don't buy into the hype into multi-frame generation. It's only really okay when you're already hitting 80 FPS frames per second and higher. Otherwise, the latency and artifacting on the screen is just it's not there yet. In a few generations, it's absolutely going to be the way to go. And my view is the same on ray tracing. There's a couple of exceptions where, yes, it's a substantial improvement to the visuals, but for that's the exceptions. The other side is you're tanking 30% or more performance for just not enough quality there. A lot of in many cases they're looking worse than the non-ray traced equivalent, and the ones that are, they're just your pros and cons on it. I really want to like it. It will get there, but the hardware just isn't there with the performance to be able to run enough ray simulations, I think it is, to get those really high quality texture looking rather than muddy sort of stuff. So it'll get there, but unless you're, even the 5090, you're just taking such a big hit for these. There's only a couple of games. Like, yes, there will be more, but not right now. Don't buy something on the promise of the future being better with it. It's only what you can get with it right now. DLSS 4, excellent, but the upscaler, but that is on all the cards that can do ray tracing, which is back to the 2000 series. So don't make that a factor. I am very concerned with AMD's FSR 4. Things I've seen on it do look substantially better, but it's starting to smell like the hardware to enable it is only in 9070 XT, or at least that's the messaging AMD are going to go with to try and drive the sales, because they're trying to sell these software features as being like the thing, and either completely artificially hedging those off, or intentionally not putting the hardware in previous ones. So, or intentionally utilizing hardware that isn't in all the generations. So really trying to ladder you up to force you to buy up into higher pricing or a new product. So with that, or consider secondhand. Yep, you're obviously running a bit of a risk there with warranties and things, but consider it. I'm not sure what the rules are in Australia are on retail transfer of warranty, but I suspect if you've got the receipt, you can make a pretty good case on it. All right, well, I suppose that's the end of it. I think that might even be a lot longer than the text I sent around, but look, if it helps, great. I'm thinking about making this Excel spreadsheet like an open docs, like Google Docs, so that you can just use this. It's pulled from Part Picker, and I've just pulled the cheapest cards that are in stock. None of these prices are anything but in stock. It's a very disappointing generation. 4000 series was not much better. 3000 was an excellent RRP, but COVID, man. Yeah, that hurt, hey? So, subscribe, probably don't do that. I'm not going to be doing that sort of thing. But hopefully this helped. And, enjoy some games. We know, like, play some games in your old Steam catalog. Okay, I'm as bad as anyone, but you bought the game, you may as well play it. Okay, and or maybe turn down the graphics settings a little bit. Anyway, hope it was a little bit helpful. Otherwise, do something else. Why'd you watch the end of the video? Just, like, I don't know. Go watch something fun. All right. See ya.